Oh, yes. Hello, darling. Welcome. It's such a pleasure to see you again. How are you? Yes. No. Really? Well, I think some people just get what they deserve, don't they? Well, I certainly hope that he does. It's only fair. How could they do anything against you, my darling? No. It's perfectly simple. He is a scoundrel. What if... Yes. What if we get someone to draw his likeness and we post it round town with a little message of some kind, you know? Well, we don't have to say exactly what he did, of course, because that would throw wild speculation on you, my darling, which none of us want, and which you certainly do not deserve. But I think simply his likeness could be a little something interesting. I'm sure I could have one or two of my staff support any claim we'd like to make. Would that satisfy you, darling? It would be just comeuppance for his misdeeds. I think it would be only right and fair. Yes, I think I shall do that then. Very well. Of course, it must be just... Oh, so stressful, darling. Don't worry about it. Not at all. Here, let me pour you a little drink. From the capital, you know. Would you like to sniff? Give it a little sniff. And, do you love it? You certainly will. Very well. Here you are, darling. For you. Yes, of course, darling. Here. To better days and revenge. It's quite refined, don't you think? It's just what everyone's drinking these days. Yes, it's terribly popular, but almost impossible to get all the way out here. I had to send an extra wagon just for this in the capital. All the way to the city. The cost was atrocious, but now I'm the only one for miles who has it. And you lucky thing, you get to have it too, because here you are with me. You see? Friendships do matter a great deal. Yes, well. Oh, of course, I also had these picked up while my servants were in town. They have these, they don't look like much, but they're quite delicious. Delectable little sweetmeats. Please, please, please. Oh, don't be shy, darling. You are here for a proper visit. You must try everything offered. It is good manners, my mother always said. Here. Very nice, darling. Very nice. Then, shall I tell you why I've really brought you here today? Yes, I have, of course. And I, as always, think I couldn't possibly handle the shock of whatever is to be in this letter without my dear friend by my side. Oh, you silly thing. Here, bring the letter, girl. Here. Oh, yeah. Yes, that one. Oh, I'm dreadfully sorry. I don't know why I keep her on, honestly. Do you know what this is? This is the latest missive from a certain someone. Let's see if you can guess. So, first, the paper is very cheap. Who writes to me on cheap paper? Peasants, yes. But also poor people. Not always the same, just usually. So also a certain someone who has fallen on hard times. But you will notice quite an expensive little ribbon here. It's shiny, it's clean. It's not been used before, so not recycled ribbon. So we have splashed out a little, and you probably don't even need to smell, but here. Give it a sniff, give it a sniff. I should have warned you. It is rather a lot, isn't it? Very cheap perfume. And I thought, that seems like a love letter, doesn't it? From someone who's fallen on hard times. Who do I know like that? Exactly. So, yes, he keeps writing to me, you see. That's the trouble that I have with him. I don't give him any attention or any inclination or any indication of anything else than mere politeness, as one would expect from anyone when forced to converse at a social gathering. And yet, he keeps writing me, and his letters are the most dreadful taught. Very well. Let us see what this one says, shall we? It does have a decent hand. A decent hand, despite the cheap paper. A few splotches and blotches, of course. And it's a large hand. It's the hand of someone who tries earnestly to make you believe what they're writing. But it's obviously a lie. It's as though they're trying to convince themselves by writing in a more childlike manner, you know. My dearest and most esteemed Lady Sif. My goodness. I wonder how many of these letters he writes. That's why he has such cheap paper. And he probably just stole a roll of expensive ribbon. That would explain it. Oh my. Hark, fair maiden. Oh, I am sorry. I don't know if I can go on. Oh, look, I found the strength. Thy presence doth illuminate my mundane existence. Like the resplendent rays of a long-forgotten sun. Do you suppose that he swallowed a book of poetry, or... Do you think these are his own words? Who says things like this? This is not how people talk. In the midst of life's wearisome tedium, thy visage doth appear as a beacon of antiquated charm. Is he calling me old? Antiquated charm. Do I look old? Do I? You must be honest with me. You're my truest friend. Tell me. Are there wrinkles? Antiquated charm. He's trying to impress me and he calls me old. Unbelievable. How can you be so bad at this? Beguiling mine eyes, he's in love with grandmothers, with a grace as timeless as the fabled myths of yore. You know, I was excited to read this letter, just for fun, and I was not expecting to be insulted in it. I have to confess. It is somehow much less fun when someone who's desperately trying to impress you insults you. Do you suppose he intended it? Or do you suppose he's stupid? Yes, I suppose that would explain it. Very well then, let's have our fun. A duke. He just wants to shoehorn that in, doesn't he? As though I could possibly forget. It's all he has, and it's all he talks about. I, a duke, of vintage, and ancient age. Ooh, he's even older than I, apparently. Antiquated charm. Vintage, and ancient age. Does he want me to drink him? Oh. Why? How is this meant to impress me? I am very important and also very old. He's a fool. Do find myself besotted with thy enchanting allure, and yet no ability to pay compliments. Though it may be known to thee that I am not the most thrilling or sprightly of suitors. How old is he? Do you suppose? Well, I believe that he fought in the last war. Did he fight in the one before that? Really? He must be quite old then. Well, then perhaps it's fair. Vintage, and ancient age. He goes on in a vein. My fashions may seem antiquated, and my demeanour, yes, 'tis true, rather staid and dreary. Is this a love letter? Or a depressed, sad man? Yes, I suppose you're right. It can indeed be both, it seems. He does have an antiquated fashion. Did you see the last jacket he wore? Oh, yes, of course, everything he has is shabby to all get out. But this jacket was, well, it was just covered in brocade. Covered in it. You could scarcely see the backing cloth. It was very boring. It was just trying to make a point that one has money, when we all know that the smart way to do it is with a little class. Where was I? Rather staid and dreary. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I cannot hold myself back. Staid and dreary. Yet I implore thee, my fair lady, to look past these humdrum traits and perceive the depths of my adoration for thee. So what does he have? He's boring. He's old. He's miserable. But he's in love with me, apparently. He also has no money. He has no lands or estates. No holdings of any kind, if I'm not mistaken. He has that one little pipsqueak of a creature that follows around after him and seems themselves quite miserable. I'm to be kept warm by the burning fires of his passion for me, while in the meantime he eats me out of house and home. While in the meantime he busies himself in my larder. I don't think so. Ooh, I get compliments now. Ugh, at last. Let's see if they're any good. Thou art a vision of elegance. Ooh, I like that. I'm a vision of elegance. Well, yes, I know he wouldn't know, but I will take it nonetheless. Amidst a world replete with ever-changing modes and modish fads. This is just something you would say when you're old again, isn't it? Things seem to change so quickly because you have seen so many things, because you are ancient and crumbling into dust. Why would he think that I would... Who would possibly... rose amongst thorns. I'm surrounded by thorns. Can you imagine? A rose amongst thorns. Do you know I have them take the thorns off my roses now? Do you know you can have them do that? Yes, exactly. Well, so then they go through and they take off all the little thorns with a little tool or something. I have no idea. But then they come to me and then I can fondle the roses. And more importantly, my clothes don't catch on them when I pass. I do love having roses in the house, especially when they're in season. I know the fashion is very much for gardens, and the garden is quite lovely, but I also enjoy having them in the house, and that is all. Yes, a rose amongst thorns. There are no thorns. Haha. Thy beauty blooms unfading. A moment ago he called me old, and yet now my beauty blooms unfading. Untouched by fleeting trends or contemporary mannerisms. Untouched by fleeting trends. He finds me old-fashioned. No. You don't think me old-fashioned, do you, darling? Oh, this is a new frock. Untouched by fleeting trends or contemporary mannerisms. Do I behave like a grandmother? Thank you. You know, possibly it's because when I've been forced to be around this dreadful bore, he is dreary, he certainly got that part right. When I'm forced to be around this dreadful bore, I am simply minimally polite. And I try not to engage with him because every word exchanged with this old doddering fool is a word that weighs on my conscience as a crime I've done to myself. So I don't say very much, and perhaps that's it, you know? My grandmother's age, women didn't say anything at all, hardly. Nonetheless, let's see how he insults me next. Verily, God, he does write like an old man as well. Thy unassailable refinement is a testament to thy peerless character. A virtue unblemished by the shallow whims of our fleeting age. What does this even mean? These are just nonsense words. Where did he get all the nonsense words from? It's like it's from a play or something. Thus, with trembling hand. His hand is not trembling. These are decently formed letters, carefully formed letters. But there's no trembling here. With trembling hand and earnest sentiment, I doubt that very much, I beseech thee to grace my humble gathering of intimate acquaintances. Oh, he's inviting me somewhere. Interesting. To whose house, though? It's not his. My humble gathering of intimate... You know, he is staying. Where is he? He was with Lord Callahan. But then Lady Callahan kicked him out, as I recall. Yes, of course. Yes, the Count... his last friend... until he bores of him as well. So, that would make sense. To grace my humble gathering of intimate acquaintances. Yes. Delightful. I can imagine nothing more delightful than an evening with the Count and this man. Amidst the drudgery of worldly affairs, thy radiant presence would elevate the soirée to an unparalleled height of grandeur. That is also true. We must agree there. Pray, honour me with thy esteemed company, and I shall endeavour to entertain thee with tales of antiquity and the customs of bygone epochs. He's not 1,000 years old. He's not Methuselah. Also, it is in no way interesting. It is in no way entertaining to hear of the past. I want to hear of the now. I want to know what's happening now. Why would I care what happened to him 40 years ago? Oh, perhaps he'll die soon instead. In answer, I await with anxious hope. Do you suppose he's invited other people to this little soiree? Oh yes, she'd be there. She attends the opening of an envelope. And him as well. Well, they're usually good for a bit of news. And if by some twist of fate, thou shouldst find thyself moved by my archaic ardour, it is not likely. I shall count myself amongst the most blessed of men. How tedious. But if perchance my suit finds no favour in thy heart, I shall endeavour to accept thy verdict. My verdict, with the resignation befitting a gentleman of my standing. A gentleman of his standing. Do you suppose he means his title or his worldly possessions? Does he have more than that dreadful coat? The collar was substantially angled, quite out of fashion. How very silly. With utmost sincerity and an abundance of I can scarcely, there's quite a lot. Obsolescent affection. Obsolescent. Of course. Duke Vaclav. Now, take this and air it outside because it smells dreadful. Oh, I don't know. Well, those two are always good for a bit of news, you know. It's always quite entertaining when they're about. And they do have the ear of... Well, I wouldn't say that I truly entertain the request. Well, for a soiree, I suppose I could go. Would you come with me? We could go together. Yes. I know just the thing. Do you still have that old blue thing? Yes. Yes, this one. What if you wear that? And I don't know if you recall, I have this quite boring little grey frock. There's hardly any decoration at all on it. So you wear your little blue thing, and I will wear my boring grey frock without anything fun. And I will keep the jewellery down to a minimum. Yes, quite out of style, naturally. And we'll see how interested he is if I arrive there without displaying any of my usual opulence, let's say. Yes, that could be great fun. Well now, do you really think he would ask me? Oh. Well, no, I wouldn't say that I'm really entertaining the idea. Not entirely. It might be nice to be a duchess. He is rather old. He could die soon. I could make sure of it. No, of course I wouldn't kill my husband. I'd pay someone else to do it. I'd still have to at least make it through the wedding, though, I'm sure, and I don't know that I can manage. But suppose he got drunk enough every night that he simply fell asleep. Oh, I don't know. I do enjoy my independence. And I don't know that being made a duchess is all that. Everyone already knows I'm in charge of the... Well, everyone who's anyone knows me already. And I have the ear of plenty of important people. Yes, I suppose. Then you and I shall go together, and I think we shall have simply great fun instead. I love this idea. I'm looking forward to it very much, my darling. Then I would say... Do you want to collect me, or shall I collect you? I have this dreadful old carriage. Yes, the ancient one. Oh, I don't know. He doesn't have any carriage, so perhaps even an ancient one would be impressive for him. And we certainly don't want him to think I'm trying to impress him. Let's think on it. What do you say? Yes, and in the meantime, have another one of these tasty little things. Here,